Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're not just going to talk about genetics, we're going to tell a story about choosing a companion, and about welcoming the new spirit into your life. We're diving deep into the world of Maltipoos and the two main characters in their story, the F1 and F2 generations.
And you know, this quote really gets to the heart of it all, doesn't it? This choice is about so much more than a breed standard or what kind of coat they have. It's about that connection, about finding a little soul that just fits with yours. So, let's start that journey together. So, what exactly is a Maltipoo? Well, they are way more than just a popular type of dog. They are, and I mean this, little bundles of pure affection and joy. They might be small, but their presence, their spirit, can fill up an entire home.
That's so true. And at their core, they're this amazing blend of two incredible purebreds. You get the super sharp, clever mind of the poodle mixed right in with the gentle, totally loving heart of the Maltese. And it's that special combination that makes them such a cherished companion.
Now, as you start looking for your Maltipoo, you're going to come to a crossroads pretty quickly. A choice between two very different chapters in this Maltipoo story, and that choice is F1 versus F2.
Okay, so let's break this down. The F1 is Chapter 1. It's super straightforward. One parent is a 100% purebred poodle, and the other is a 100% purebred Maltese. That direct 50-50 split, well, it gives the F1 generation a certain level of predictability. Then you have the F2 generation. This is the next chapter. This is what happens when two F1 Maltipoos have puppies of their own. And this is where the story gets a little more complex, a little more surprising. The genetic deck gets shuffled again, and that means you can get more variety and a few more wonderful surprises. So the key takeaway is right here. F1 is purebred meets purebred. F2 is Maltipoo meets Maltipoo. And that single fundamental difference in who the parents are, that's what drives all the variations we're about to get into.
And that really brings us to the heart of your choice. It's about asking yourself, what kind of journey are you looking for? A more predictable path where the traits are a pretty consistent, beautiful blend? Or are you drawn to a path that's full of unique surprises, where every single dog is a true one-of-a-kind? All right, let's get a quick overview of how these two really stack up. Generally speaking, F1s are going to give you more predictability, especially with their personality and hypoallergenic coat, but they usually come with a higher price tag. F2s, on the other hand, bring a ton of variety to the table and are often a bit more affordable. Let's dive into each of these. You can really see this difference in how they look. With an F1, you can pretty much count on a wavy or curly coat and a size that's right in between its poodle and Maltese parents. But with an F2, oh, the possibilities really open up. Their coats can be anything from tightly curled like a poodle to straight and silky like a Maltese, and you'll see a much bigger range in their size and color too.
And the whole hypoallergenic thing is a perfect example of this. Since F1s are a direct cross, they almost always inherit that amazing poodle coat, the one that's low shedding and great at trapping dander. Now, F2s can definitely still have that quality, but there's a higher chance they might get more of the Maltese's silky hair, which just isn't quite as good for people with allergies.
And this right here, this is where all that science becomes real life. Alana's story about her Max just perfectly captures why a family might choose an F1. For them, that predictability wasn't just a nice to have, it was absolutely essential for their daughter's health and happiness.
Their temperament kind of follows the same pattern. F1s usually have that perfect balanced blend of poodle smarts and Maltese affection, which makes them super trainable. With F2s, you get a much wider spectrum of personalities. You might get a pup that's a little more independent, or one that's an absolute cuddlebug. It's not about being better or worse, it's just less predictable.
And then you have this story from Andre about their Bella, which just celebrates that other path. They totally embraced the surprise. They got a dog with a straighter coat than maybe they expected, but her personality, unbelievably sweet and cuddly, was the absolute perfect fit for them. It just goes to show how an F2 can be a really wonderful discovery.
Okay, we know that choosing a dog is a decision of the heart, 100%, but it also has to be a decision of the head. So, let's turn to the practical side of things. Health, grooming, cost, all this stuff that helps ensure a long, happy life together.
So, let's talk about health and this concept called hybrid vigor. Think of it this way. When you mix two totally different gene pools, like a poodle and a Maltese, you often get the health benefits from both sides, while avoiding the genetic weaknesses that can sometimes pop up in a single purebred line. F1s often get this boost.
With F2s, there's a slightly higher risk of inheriting a recessive condition because both of their F1 parents could be carrying the same sneaky gene. This is why genetic testing from a great breeder is absolutely crucial, especially if you're looking at an F2.
Grooming is another big practical thing. Look, all Maltipoos need regular coat care. F1s usually have that wavy coat that needs a good brushing a few times a week, so it doesn't get matted. For F2s, it really depends on the coat they end up with. A super curly coat is going to need more work, while a straighter one might be a bit less maintenance.
And finally, let's talk about the price. It's just a fact that, as a general rule, F1 Maltipoos are more expensive. What you're paying for is that predictability in their coat and their temperament, plus the higher costs that come with breeding two different purebred dogs. F2s are usually more affordable, simply because they're a bit easier for breeders to produce.
So there we have it. We've walked down the two paths, the path of predictability and the path of surprise. We've talked about the heart and we've talked about the head. Now it's about putting it all together to make the choice that feels just right for you and for your life.
Okay, listen up, because no matter which generation you're leaning towards, this part is non-negotiable. A good breeder is your partner in this whole process. They're the ones ensuring you get a healthy, happy, well-socialized puppy. So you've got to check their references, visit their home if you can, and please ask to see the genetic health tests for the parent dogs. It's so important.
So, let's just sum it all up. If allergies are a big deal in your home, or if you really value a reliable, consistent temperament more than anything, the F1 is probably your best bet. But if you're working with a bit of a tighter budget and you're genuinely excited by the idea of discovering a truly unique look and personality, then an F2 could be an absolutely wonderful match.
Because at the end of the day, it all comes down to this. Beyond the generations and the coats and all the genetics, there's a connection just waiting to be made. The right dog for you is out there. So the question isn't just about F1 or F2, it's whose eyes are you going to look into and see a friend for life? Who will you see